These are the things you need to make rigatoni carbonara. Obviously, rigatoni, guanciale, pecorino cheese, eggs. That's it. So the only chopping you need to do is cutting the guanciale into chunks. Some people like to cut them into cubes. I prefer like long strips, kind of. So the first step you need to do with these guanciale pieces is to remove the skin, because this is pretty tough. And some people might suggest trimming off this side as well, because they think that, you know, this side is, you know, contaminated with all the pepper and other aromatics. I don't mind it. And just remove the skin. Easy peasy. And then I take the piece and I just go in this direction. Okay. Cutting them into long strips. Now, guanciale is cured pork jowl, and it is very fatty. And that's why traditionally, to make this dish, you don't need olive oil or, you know, any other fat. You just render all of this fat out, and that's gonna be more than enough. I'm gonna start rendering these pieces in a cold pan with no oil. Okay, just one final cut here. I got a lot of guanciale pieces here. Here I have an empty frying pan into which the guanciale pieces are going. Cold pan, nothing in it. It's just going in there. And this guy doesn't want to go in, so. I'm trying to make sure that the pieces spread out evenly so that they have even exposure to the heat. All right, so that's all nice and spread out. And I'm gonna start by turning this on to medium low. Low and slow, okay? Let that go. That's why I do this first, because this takes the most amount of time. Now let's make the sauce. I'm gonna use 1 whole egg and 1 egg yolk. Let's get cracking. Oh my God. Clean hands. Get in there and just pass it between your fingers. Let any danglers dangle off. And boom, there you go, beautiful. And then just do a whole egg. Right in there. And that's the base of the sauce. So I'm gonna start by beating the eggs. I think this looks pretty good. And then I'm gonna grate in some pecorino cheese, and by some I mean a lot. Not everyone's on board with the idea of using a microplane to grate cheese. Some people use box graters, some people use blender, but I don't have any of those things. And I think a microplane works pretty well. You could use Parmigiano Reggiano, but I actually prefer Pecorino to Parmesan because it's sharper, it's saltier. I'm very lucky to live in Toronto, where, you know, we have in Italy, and they have a good selection of cheese and deli, and they're on Instacart, so you can just order them online. That's very convenient. Definitely needs more cheese. But this is the egg sauce. We'll finish it off with a good amount of pepper. There's some minor sizzlage right here. I'm gonna keep this on a medium-low heat. It's been 84 years, and look at how much fat is coming out. And we're almost there with the guanciale. I have some rapidly boiling water here, and I'm gonna add a lot of salt in there. And I'm not cooking pasta in a lot of water here because I want to keep the pasta cooking liquid nice and starchy. Now, these look good to me, so I'm going to turn the heat off. And I'm going to kind of strain these pieces because I don't want too much fat. And I want to save the excess pork fat for cooking down the road, you know? Making stir fries, making rice or soup. Pasta has been cooking for about 6 minutes. And now I'm going to take some of the starchy, salty liquid and pour that into the egg sauce mixture. And immediately stir it in. I'm basically trying to temper the egg sauce and also loosen it up a bit. And the only way to know if your pasta is cooked is to taste it. Okay, don't throw it against the wall. Now I just took a bite and there's still some, you know, uncooked stuff in the middle, so I'm gonna give it about a minute. And these are done. Put them in the pan here. And I'm gonna take a little bit of pasta water. Now I have the pasta. I'm gonna dump it all in here. Okay, and this is where I'm gonna finish cooking the dish. And you toss it around in the sauce. Okay, this way you don't overcook things. And if you feel like the sauce is too thin, too watery, like what I have here, simple, you just grate more cheese in it. Just a little bit more cheese, you know? I'm gonna try a piece. That's nice. Now to plate it. Okay, I think that's enough. Grab your guanciale pieces. Pepper. And surprise, surprise, more cheese. All right, let's eat. Super simple, super delicious. I think Pecorino is the better cheese to use in this dish. If you use Parmesan, you're introducing some sweetness to the dish, which is also fine, but I just prefer Pecorino. Guanciale is real nice. Super crispy. And, you know, the final stage of the cooking was done in here. This is a technique that I learned from the Bon Appetit video of how to make a carbonara. The only issue with using this method is that technically your eggs are not pasteurized. I think the likelihood of you getting sick from even eating raw eggs is much lesser today than, you know, years ago. If you're worried about that, put the sauce into the pan
and then combine the sauce in there and use the residual heat from the pan to pasteurize the eggs. One thing I will say about guanciale is that it's very salty. So if you don't want it to be super salty, I guess what you can do is just go get a fresh piece of pork belly, and then cut up into, lardons or these chunks. That way you still get the crispy, porky texture and flavor, but the salt content is much less. It's a great dish. Now I'm gonna finish eating all this stuff and clean up, which is gonna take 2 hours. I'm out.